Welcome everyone. Welcome to the classroom, a lecture series with you, me, and my trusty whiteboard. Today, however, we're going to mix it up a little bit, and we're going to just be you and me, and the whiteboard here will be taking a rest today. So I'll be swapping on my whiteboard for my trusty stool, and we're going to have a bit of a heart-to-heart today. So, in trying to keep things fresh, and trying to keep things relevant, and make things interesting for everyone involved, myself included, I've decided to create a new segment to the classroom. Apart from our usual lectures with the whiteboard, I've decided to add something new, and I've come up with a name called Tales from the Office, a segment where I chat a little bit about patient encounters that, coming out of that encounter, we gather a life lesson or a really nice piece of wisdom or experience that both me and the patient come out of the office with, because it is in that therapeutic relationship between doctor and patient where the real magic happens. And so just a disclaimer about this, because obviously we take confidentiality extremely seriously at Ishtara. Whatever I chat about, it will be more concepts rather than patient details. And sometimes, to protect the patient's confidentiality, I may slightly alter the events, or I may change a bit of details here or there, just to protect that patient, so that no one listening to this could be like, hey, that sounds like someone I know. And if it does sound like someone you know, make no mistake, it's purely coincidental. And to the best of my ability, if there is something that is patient-related, I would have gotten permission from those patients to be able to present it to you guys today, in the interest of learning and teaching. So, just a note, we take confidentiality extremely seriously, and so in this segment of Tales from the Office, there will be no question about that sort of confidentiality issues. So, with that disclaimer out of the way, I decided to open up this particular segment with a really, really nice story. It's a tale of self-confidence and inner worth. So let me paint you a picture. A young man who has his full-time job, he has his wife, he has his kids, he has his family around him, and he's a young, bright guy. But his real passion is cricket. And literally 3 to 4 times for the week, he goes to the nets. He's an extremely good batsman. He's been playing cricket since he was a teenager in secondary school. And he's on the up and up. He's coming up. He played for Trinidad a couple of times. All of these good things. And he really is really passionate about cricket. Why that's important? It's because let's say a couple months ago, he got called up to play regionally in a league, a professional league. So he's now moving from sort of amateur level to the professional level, where he's actually being paid for his ability to play cricket. And he was super excited, and he came to see me before leaving to go to this tournament. You know, he came to me for a little tune-up to make sure everything's okay energetically. I recommended some supplements for him to help with his athletic performance. And he was really excited to go, because this is what he thought was his big break. So he arrived at the destination, he unpacked and everything, and immediately something was a bit off. When I saw him, recently, and he was relaying this information to me, he was very down, he was very dejected, and what he explained to me sort of, it broke my heart, because I also really enjoy cricket as well. I think it's a wonderful sport. And so what he was saying to me was that the colleagues that he was playing with were very not nice to him, I guess to put it mildly, and they kept sidelining him. The team plan always revolved around someone else and not him. There was essentially a lot of antagonism towards him. For whatever reason, I'm not sure. I have my suspicions, but the Caribbean is a small place, and we tend to be rather territorial, and I suspect because he went over to someone else's country, those nationals, I feel, may have been given preference over him. And I could rationalize that. I could understand that, which doesn't make it any less right. But as a young man who's bright and who works very hard at his craft and his passion, he got into his head. And as a result of that, he wasn't able to play the game that he wanted to play. He didn't make the runs that he was looking for. He didn't perform as well as he is capable of doing. And it broke his spirit. He came back home a dejected man. He wanted to hang up his cricket boots and put his bat down forever because of just how bad his experience was. And what really was shaken with him was his self-confidence. And that is what today's tale is about, self-confidence. And so we got to chatting in the office. How is it that I could have helped this young man with his self-confidence? Because he's young, he's bright, he's talented. He has all the reason to be self-confident. But again, understandably so, having what he would call an abysmal performance in a tournament where he thought he would have broken out and really gotten a lot of exposure would have really shaken anyone's self-confidence. So to keep this video segment short and sweet, here is what I said to him. I said to him, think back. Think back to your career in cricket. Actually, let's expand that. Think back to any period in your life when you didn't think that you would make it. Think back to a period when your back was against the wall, the chips were all down, and you were up against something bigger than you. And you weren't sure if you would succeed, you weren't sure if you would be able to survive even, perhaps. It could have been something as simple as an exam. It could have been something as dramatic as, being lost somewhere. And looking back on those moments, coming to where you are today, you clearly made it. You clearly succeeded. You were able to overcome that adversity because of whatever talent, tenacity, determination, whatever it is that you were able to bring to bear on a situation, despite not being entirely confident about it. This was where, in that moment of action, you had to act, you had to decide, you had to think, and you made the right choices because you're here today relatively successful. And so think back to those moments and make a compilation of those wins that you had despite not having the confidence to do so. Because as human beings, you and I, our knee-jerk reaction is to think negatively. Oh, what if I fail at this? What if I don't do well at that? What if this doesn't work out? And for whatever reason, that is our natural reaction. But I'm here to say to you today, it's really important that you have this little treasure chest of previous wins, previous successes, previous victories that you can easily recall despite your back being up against the wall. And so in times of trouble and in times of disaster, when we question our own self-confidence, it's important that we can reach into that little treasure chest, pull out one of those memories, focus on it, and remember how we felt. You know what? Back then, I'm feeling the same way I'm feeling now. Back then, I had the same self-doubt that I'm feeling now. But you know something? Looking back at that moment, I was actually able to make it. I was actually able to succeed. So you know what? If I could have succeeded back then with such a big issue, you know what? There's a good chance I can succeed now. And so my advice to you guys is, I see my advice to this young, bright, talented cricketer. Think back to our previous victories and compile those memories, whether you write it down, whether you make a mental checklist, and have those readily available so that we can base our self-confidence on our previous victories. And there's nothing more dangerous than baseless self-confidence, yeah? There's nothing more dangerous than being cocky and arrogant for no reason at all. And no one can give us self-confidence. That has to come from within ourselves. So this mental exercise of having a small list of our previous victories when we thought we wouldn't have won is ultimately important. And I think it will serve him well. It most certainly serves me well, and I think it will serve you well. So that's it for today for Tales from the Office. A short, sweet talk about self-confidence and the value of making sure that we have those victories and those previous wins behind us that we can easily recall to combat that knee-jerk reaction of negative self-talk. So I hope you guys enjoyed that story, and I'll catch you guys in the next classroom. All the best.